I just started the recording as the air horn
Oh,
went off.
shucks. Well, we have to do it again then.
God.
All right, hey everybody.
Welcome back to the best podcast on the internet.
The Witch's Road?
That's
No,
probably copywritten. You can't say that.
Can
No,
you
King of the
copyright
Bean.
3 words in an order?
people
Yeah,
try to copyright
people.
candy.
Yeah,
What?
that's true. Didn't Taylor Swift try to copy something super generic? Copyright super something. A lot of pop stars like to do that because they think they own words.
Shake It Off.
Probably,
Probably,
honestly.
yeah.
But that's not what we're talking about today.
We're talking about copyright law. Get ready, everybody.
Yeah, bet you didn't see that coming, huh? Neither did we.
The scary facts of copyright law.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Honestly, we could probably talk about that at some point, but I don't. Not today. Not today, because we're
It'd,
not prepared for that.
it'd be a good one to have Tony for, because I think he knows a lot about it. But
Oh,
anyway.
yeah,
True.
Tony. If you want to come talk about copyright laws with us, let us know in the comments down below, or just text Josh.
Or any other thing you want to talk about.
It
Yeah, I
doesn't have to
mean,
be that.
obviously, it's up to you, but like,
Anyway,
okay. So today, in the spirit of the spooky season,
the spooks
I
and the
thought,
goofs.
yeah, you can't say that on radio because we might do that one day.
Yeah.
I thought it would be fun to talk about horror. Now, we've already talked about horror before as a genre, as what movies we liked, what kind of horror we liked. You're
He's getting a phone
the
call,
Getting a phone call. Hold up.
is what
oh.
he's trying to tell you.
Anyway, we've talked about horror as in the kind of movies we like and the type of genre horror that we like. But I thought today it would be fun to talk about what we think makes a good horror movie. Oh, Ian's gone. A good horror show. This is really an episode, isn't it?
Keep going.
See,
Um,
apparently, keep going.
Okay, and then also maybe like what things that we find scary
Uh-oh.
in these kind of venues when we're looking to be scared, what gets us scared? And it doesn't have to be limited either to like movies and TV. It could be like in real life too. Like what scares you
Sure.
existentially or otherwise. Um, so who wants to start talking about what makes horror to you? That's pretty spooky, Ian.
Yeah, spooky.
I just wanted to get my props.
You
The
have
props
so
that you
many
can totally
props.
see.
Ian's prop guy today. I feel like even when we were setting up, all he was doing was pulling out stuff.
Go on, Josh.
Yeah, Josh,
Yeah,
why don't you kick it off?
sure. Let's see. For things in like real life that scare me.
Yeah, we can start there. That's fine.
Yeah. So like, I have an intense fear of like tight corridors. It's just the whole
Mhm.
feeling of not being able to move as much as you want to be able to move.
Like claustrophobia.
Claustrophobia, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Like
Yeah.
that's a big one. I'm not really scared of like ghosts or like the idea of like aliens or whatnot. Honest, honest to God, those are things that I'm just like they're just they're not gonna affect us immediately, or that's not the likely thing to ever affect us. So there's no
Right.
point of really being scared of that.
Right.
That being said, like the unknown of like something like going into a dark room or whatever, that unknownness of what could be inside is what's scary, not what actually
Well,
like
that's what
ghosts.
fear of the dark is. Is it? I feel like it's more just fear of the unknown, right? Like you don't know what hides in the darkness.
I was
Mm-hmm.
gonna ask you if you were afraid of the dark.
Nah, I haven't been afraid of the dark since I was a little kid, and then
But
I
you're
watched.
afraid of the
Uh,
unknown?
I'm afraid of crazy people
Yeah, sure.
that can be in the unknown.
So, like, if you're out at nighttime, the darkness doesn't bother you, but just the thought of like what might be in the darkness is what bothers you?
Yeah, absolutely. Like if I'm walking down the streets, every day, I'm not gonna be scared of like being just there. Although if I start hearing like a noise, like, oh, there's something here.
Mm,
That's what's scary, not the
mm,
actual darkness itself.
that's
What
fair.
about you guys?
I mean, I just want to say, I feel like, and I said this already, I guess, but fear of the dark is really just, you know, it's it's covering things that you can't see, and something's gonna pop out is why I've always been like, or most kids are afraid of the dark because you're like a monster's gonna pop out of my closet, uh, but he's hidden because of the darkness. That's the type of thing. So I think
Yeah.
being afraid of the dark is like, the kid's way of saying it, and then when you grow up, you're like, no, it's just fear of the unknown, and now it's more
Mm.
like specific, but it's the same thing.
I feel like there are some people though who are just like afraid of the dark. Like perhaps it
Oh,
is like
absolutely.
stems from the unknown, but I think like just like darkness as like a concept, like being in the dark with no lights, I think just that alone can scare some people.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I mean, I think that's because you're like, I can't see anything. Something might touch me. Something might happen. Like
Mm.
that.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying.
I and you don't know it's coming because you can't see it because the lights are off.
But you don't think that
Yeah.
those might be two different things also? Like one plays into the other, but you don't think that those could be separate?
No,
Hmm.
in my mind they're very intertwined.
That's fair. I see that. I
That's how
would
I see
say
it.
that I am also afraid of, I mean, I'm afraid of heights. I don't like height, and it mostly stems from a fear of falling from said heights. Because when you're falling, there's really nothing you can do about it.
It's
Not that I've
true.
ever like fallen off of anything before, but like I don't want to, is the whole
Well, you
thing.
never fallen off a roof before?
You don't want to go
No.
splat like the One Direction guy.
Too soon.
Wow, that's what you can't say that. That's so bad.
Is it? They
Yeah,
posted
dude.
they my coworker was telling me they posted pictures of his body, like
Who's they?
That's in poor taste.
the
Yeah,
press.
that's
They posted pictures of like how he landed in the bushes and on, or I think he was in another balcony, like he fell to another balcony or whatever. Like apparently they posted that. So I feel like
that's
what I said is not really anything compared to
I
that,
think
but
you're all wrong. I think all of that is bad and disrespectful to the poor soul who passed away today
yesterday.
or yesterday. Yeah. Either one. That's sad. But no is the answer to your question. I don't want to end up like that either way. So I think I avoid those situations the best I can. I also I don't like rodents. I think rodents are gross creatures.
Why?
I don't know if I would say I have a fear of rodents, but I don't like rodents. I think they're disgusting and just little fleshy claws and the gross fleshy tails and like I don't know. I just don't like rodents. Probably comes
That's fair, I
also
guess.
also from the fact that like we have had rodent problems in our house, and for some reason they always seem to be around my room. So hearing the scratching in the walls at night and like I there have been mice in my room before that I have seen in the middle of the night because I wake up and I hear little like chittering noises and then I look over and I can see them just staring at me. Like I hate it. I think rodents are gross. Pass on any rodent.
Nah, some rodents can be cute. But that's
Nope.
just me. I have
We
a
had a
Pass
different
on
mindset.
all.
hamster.
Yeah, I hated the hamster. Like
Was happy when it
in
was
its
gone.
cage is fine, but I never touched it. I
Oh
never
yeah, I
held
would
it,
put
and
him
you
on
would always,
Ryan and he
yeah, and
hated
I
it.
hated it because
Who
they're
would?
gross little creatures.
It was little Speedy.
Yeah,
He just wanted to live life and love his family, and you were like, no.
I know. I'm
But but
past.
but here's the thing, and this is kind of like a transition into talking about like movies and what makes movies horror. Like, I can
Go for it.
personally look at a movie and say it has like whatever, there's a scene where there's like just rats crawling around, I'm not gonna look at that and be like, oh my god, I'm so scared or whatever.
Yeah,
No, I just think gross.
and that's what I
Ye-
would think too.
yeah,
That's why I'm saying, like,
exactly.
I don't know if I would say I'm afraid of rodents. I just really don't like rodents.
He's afraid of the diseases that they
Even
carry.
when I was at the museum, like when I was at the kids museum, there was days where there was this rat club, like Rat Club of America or whatever, would come and bring like rats. They're like trained and stuff, and it's like, for science and so kids can see mammals or whatever. I don't freaking know, dude. All I knew is I took a wide berth around that table, and I would not I would not go near them because I'm like, pass on the rodents.
Oh, we're so different people. I would look at them and be like, oh, look at them, they're so cute.
No, gross. The freaking fleshy, gross ass tail. No, thank you. Hate it. Saw a
And so
possum like a couple months ago. Disgusting creatures. The gnarly little face and the fleshy tail. Like, oh, I hate all of it. I hate all of it. Pass on rodents. Don't need them.
that's fair.
Don't want them.
But like that's so going into like talking about like movies and
Yeah.
even video games and stuff. I feel like a big part of like what makes like a good horror movie or good horror genre in general is like losing control, I feel like.
Mm.
Because like
Elaborate.
so like you're watching a movie and to a certain extent you kind of engross yourself in it, feeling like you could be a part of that world or whatever.
Mm.
So
Mm-hmm.
when things go awry where you feel like they could be saved, that's where the most discomfort comes from, and then discomfort slowly becomes horror or being scared of a situation.
Yeah.
So losing control of like of the situation that they're in, and by like proxy how you're in.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I feel like in a lot of horror movies, there's an illusion of control though. Like I think the whole
Yeah.
crux is like there's nothing you could do about it. Right? Whether it's like a paranormal thing generally where it's some demon or entity, malicious entity trying to kill you through some curse or something. Like there's usually not a whole lot you could do about that. You just kind of succumb to it until, some plot reason why we win at the end of the day, or like a few people survive and can break the curse or whatever. Or like even if it's a slasher and there's like a killer on the loose, like you usually like the people usually don't have a lot of control over that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I think
totally.
that like there's this illusion of control that then is kind of shattered because they have no control, and I think that that's kind of what you're getting at too.
Yeah. Which like in a movie that's a lot harder to like portray to an audience or whatever, because
Hmm.
again you're just someone just looking at what's going on, and that's
Right.
why a lot of like horror movies like to build tension with like the music and everything like that.
Oh
Music plays
yeah,
a big part
absolutely.
because you
Horror
can look at
games.
one scene and
The
just like it'd
Halloween
be
song.
totally different depending on the music that's playing.
Oh, 100%. 100%. What about you, man? What do you think?
I was gonna say I think the music is the most important for setting up suspense and like the mood and stuff to get it
Hmm.
spooky and stuff.
Yeah.
Like the most iconic one that I was thinking of while Josh was talking about that is just like the Halloween
Hmm.
piano.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
Like
just
two
like
notes.
the, huh?
It's like two notes, and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as iconic as Jaws. Like, if you hear the Jaws soundtrack, you know a shark's gonna come eat you.
Yeah.
Or you know the da da. And then if you hear the
Hmm.
Halloween piano, you know you're about to get murdered by some slasher in a mask. Like,
Yeah.
it's synonymous. Uh,
But it does do such a good job, and I think people underappreciate music. Like in movies in general, I feel like the score is so important, and that's not the point of this podcast. But like, I think that music is so important for setting tone, any kind of tone and any kind of mood, and I feel like people don't always think about that in any kind of medium. But like, if you watch, like, pick any movie, pick any show, and you take the music out of it, it's not the same.
yeah,
It's so hollow.
I've been watching Scooby Doo on and off this week because
Mhm.
Warner
Hmm.
Brothers is playing it.
Scariest.
Um, and I mean, put aside like the fun stuff that they've done, like the Hex Girls, or like
Mhm.
there's an episode the other day where they had Smash Mouth
That's
and
funny.
who were they? The ones who did,
Simple Plan.
yeah, Simple Plan. And they did songs. Although I was so upset because towards the end they were trying to use Simple Plan as bait, and they started like that first second of "I'd do anything," and as soon as the is like da 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 da, and then the monster came in or whatever, and it stopped, and I was like, man, I was into
Ah.
that,
You're
but
like, we're only allowed to play 1 second before we get demonetized on
no, well,
TV.
I mean, they wouldn't be copyright strike because Simple Plan was involved in that whole episode, so I don't
Yeah, I
think
know.
they would they would be like, you
Sue
can't use
them.
our song, especially because they
Yeah.
made the theme song for What's These Scooby Doo. But
Yeah.
like, just if you take all the music out, even for the chase sequences and stuff, like it's just so important.
Yeah.
And it lends so much to the medium. And I mean, I know Scooby Doo's not the most horror thing, but I mean, as a
No.
kid, it's all about monsters and ghouls and ghosts and stuff. Like
It's
that's as
spooky.
horror as it. Yeah, it's spooky.
It's
Uh,
spooky.
and it's
So
fun.
then let me ask you this question because that's a really good point. What do you consider is the difference between spooky and scary?
The amount of terror you feel.
Okay.
I think spooky is more fun and like childish, and scary is like um more gory and adult.
I would kind of agree with you. It's like for different audience.
Like
Like one's for younger and one's for older.
like spooky is what you get when you go to Disneyland's Halloween event, and scary is what you get when you go to Universal or Magic Mountain.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah,
And
I think
most
so
people
too.
might not understand those references, but I feel like that's accurate.
I think the age thing is fine. Do you think that spooky can be for adults though? Because we're using this age criteria of spooky is for kids and scary is for adults, but can spooky be for adults?
I think it can
Absolutely.
be for adults. I just think it's more like silly and fun in nature, whereas scary is a lot more serious and trying to actually like make you terrified. Whereas
Hmm.
spooky is like fun, witchy, stuff like that. And then scary's like murdered, like all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
like Ian's little companion right there, the little skeleton guy. Spooky.
yeah, he's spooky.
Not
Yeah.
necessarily like terrifying.
Scary. I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
He's also
No,
No,
spooky.
still spooky.
scary, but like you put that in the right settings, it could possibly give someone a jitter.
Yeah. Do you think it's
But
like
like,
I would say like for me it is intensity level. I
yeah,
would say that like spooky is just like you said, it's fun, it's silly. It could be a
We've
little like creepy, maybe. I think creepy it can be is like in the middle between spooky and scary.
we've
Would you agree
a
with that?
spooky to scary thermometer.
Yeah, so spooky is like at the bottom, and then I'd say creepy is in the middle, and then I'd say I didn't do my box right, and then I'd say scary is at top. Would you agree with that ranking?
I would say scary is like top mid area, and then there's
Uh-huh.
terror.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so terror, scary, creepy, spooky.
Yeah, like one you're having fun, one is making you slightly uncomfortable,
Mm,
one's like getting higher in uncomfortableness, and one's like, oh, fight or flight is about to go off right now.
right.
I think from like spooky to terror, it's like spooky is almost all like in fun, and terror is there is zero fun. This is serious
Right.
shit. Like,
Yeah.
and people are dying or whatever.
It, yeah, I would
You know,
agree with
unless
that.
you go to those horror rooms that they basically dunk you and almost try to kill you.
Oh yeah, the
Yeah,
ones
that's
where you have to like
terror.
sign waiver forms.
Those
Yeah.
are not spoopy. And
No, no, but
and
No.
spoopy is below spooky.
Spoopy is the yeah, spoopy is the level 0.
spoopy is when Snoopy is involved.
Spoopy spoopy. I do like good spoopy. Who doesn't like a good spoopy?
It's true. That's what all the kids say.
Mhm.
Yeah,
But that's why
skipping
I feel
toilet.
like in that's why I feel like I find more horror in like video games than I do in watching movies. Because for me personally, like I can't make that much of a connection with like the characters in a movie
Yeah,
because they're doing their own actions. You know, no
right.
matter what I do, I'm I cannot be that person,
I
and
Right.
there's sort of disassociation with that.
I can, but like in horror movies, I can never get into like the mindset of being in that universe just because I'm like I never want to be there. Like I have no desire to be in like 90% of these horror universes. I'm good. Like
Right.
I don't
Well,
need to be involved.
yeah, I mean, we watched Tarot the other day, which is a horror movie that came out earlier this year, I believe, about like these college students who stay in this creepy mansion. Actually, the mansion wasn't even that creepy. It was just like the basement area that was like locked
I
off
mean, it
that they
was
busted the door
creepy
down.
because it was in the middle of nowhere and it was really old.
Yeah, but
Sure.
I think your earlier like
It was eerie.
notion that Erie's a good one too. Notion that because it was at nighttime when we saw it, like if you saw that during the day, you'd be like, "Wow, that's a beautiful Victorian house."
Which
But then at
they showed it
nighttime,
also during the day. I did not think it was a beautiful house. That was like run down,
no,
kinda
I don't know.
ish.
But the inside looked so nice when
It
they were
was.
running
I
through
mean, the
it.
outside was okay, but you could tell it was old. It's not like it was well kept.
Well, yeah. But either way, the whole crux of the story is, for those who don't know, no spoilers. This is just the premise. Is they bust down a door that says "Do not enter," and in this room that they're told not to enter, find a cursed deck of tarot cards, and then play with them. And I'm sure you
Yeah,
can
they
imagine
found the
what
cursed
happens next.
object and they played with it. And as we know from Phasmophobia, if you play with it, you gonna die.
You die.
If you
Yeah.
play with it, Ryan will die.
Yeah, that's what I've learned. Um, but we were saying to ourselves, we would not have done that. So, like, from that point on, like, it really is just suspension of disbelief because we're just like, if we were in that situation, we would not have done that. We would have been like, no, this is obviously like nothing good is going to come of this. But you can't have people who have realistic responses like that in a movie because then you don't have a movie.
It's just
So
so
you
funny
Exactly.
gotta,
too that they use the excuse of like, oh, they're searching for alcohol and they're willing to go in this like off limits area to find it. And then they just
yeah.
happen to find this deck of cards and they're like, do my horoscope.
Right, which is so funny too because I feel like there was some like way cooler stuff in that basement than just like this random box of tarot cards, and they don't touch anything else,
Well, it's because
just
the
the
one
tarot.
girl knows how to do horoscope readings and they're all like, that sounds fun.
Yeah,
But
and it
yeah, I don't
was
know. It
fun
was
until it wasn't.
a little forced. I mean, I think it would have been maybe even better if the cards were just somewhere random in the house. And someone was,
Mm,
maybe even looking for alcohol, and maybe they were like in the wine cellar or something. You find
mm,
the deck of cards, and they're like, "Oh, hey, you wanna do this?" And I think that would have been more
yeah,
natural. And it's also like,
mm,
okay, I don't have to, um, they're not breaking the rules or anything. Because I mean, most
yeah,
people, I mean, with the way Airbnbs are nowadays, you're not gonna break into people's private rooms and stuff. Like,
yeah. I agree. I think that would be a good change to that script to make it feel more reasonable.
yeah, like,
There's a certain suspension of disbelief that you have to go into any horror movie.
yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean to
But I
any
think there's
movie,
also
but
ways to
definitely
just make it
horror.
feel more natural and believable.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And I think also maybe because I mean, these characters are about our age-ish. I mean, the actors are definitely our age-ish.
factors. Yeah.
They're
The
playing,
characters are a little bit younger than us, but
yeah.
the
Yeah, they're
actors are definitely
playing
our
just got into college
yeah.
students.
Well, they were all at least 20. I mean, they were drinking, and it sounds like they had the ability to buy their own alcohol because she was gonna order it. So
Mhm.
I think they were all at least 21. So they weren't like fresh college students. They weren't like 18, 19. But yeah, I mean, I just think there's like minor changes you could have made in some things to make it more realistic. Because I think, like, yeah, suspending disbelief is fine, but if you have to do it too much, it takes you out. But also, the more realistic it is, the scarier it is because you're like, oh my god, that could
Mhm.
happen.
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
what if I, like, in Phasmophobia, you find a random music box, you touch it, and then all of a sudden Ryan dies. Like, that, that could happen.
It could happen, yeah. Yeah. You're
That's
so
why.
right about that. It's the realism that makes that game fun.
Well, see, that's why I like a different style of horror movie. Like nothing that has to do with supernatural things. Like that's just a level of disbelief that you have to go into the movie, and that's fine. But like horror movies that are about like a person breaking in
Mm,
or something like that, those are more terrifying
Well,
than.
and for supernatural stuff though, I feel like I can suspend my disbelief for the supernatural stuff, but on how they
yeah,
find the cards, I shouldn't have to be like, well, I guess they would break into different rooms to find alcohol. Like, no.
yeah. Because I agree. I think that's what makes the supernatural stuff like scary is imagining like, okay, what if this was real? Like if like if you take something like The Conjuring, right? Which I really like The
I
Conjuring,
didn't
at
haven't
least
watched those movies.
the first or second one. Basically, it's like a haunted doll in a house, right? Essentially, is the premise. That's where Annabelle comes from, right? But like, there's stories of haunted houses all the time, right? So that's what's creepy is like you're living in this house, you're going to bed at night, and weird things are happening, right? Doors are opening and closing, and no one's there. Your
Uh,
covers are getting yanked off your sheets, and there's nothing there, right? Imagine if that happens to you, that would be
I
terrifying
would move.
because there is no explanation for it. No explanation, quote unquote. Whereas for me, yes, the realism of like some guy breaking into my house, that is also terrifying too. But they're both scary for different reasons, right? One is real and you know this is a real threat that I can see. And that's scary because big strong depending on the franchise supernatural like person that is coming to kill me versus there's some kind of ghost demon spirit thing that I can't see and I don't know what's going on and that's also terrifying. You know what I mean? So to me both can be scary if done correctly.
Yeah, totally. It's just a matter of how they go about it. And not a lot of horror movies, sadly, go about it in the best of ways.
Yeah, horror movies, a good horror movie is hard to find.
Absolutely.
What would you say is the best horror movie?
The
Best horror
best.
movie? That's a hard
Or your
question.
favorite?
I mean, like I said, I like Conjuring, um, and some of those more paranormal stuff. I mean, but I like the ghost stories too. So like those kind of movies, I think are fun. I think Alien and Aliens are still good horror movies because that's kind of the first premise of I know what the problem is, but there's nothing I can do about it, you know? And I would say that to touch on the video game topic that Josh has brought up a few times, Alien Isolation I think is like one of the best horror games.
I would agree with you. It's pretty good.
Is it a single player game?
It is,
Yeah,
yes.
and it's like and you're basically you play as like Ripley's daughter or like Grant or somebody related to
Yeah.
Ripley and she like goes and is like looking for Ripley. Right? That's the premise of the game, but your ship of course gets attacked by an alien and but there's nothing you can do about this alien, right? For like 99% of the game, this alien is just stalking you and will kill you if it sees you. And so it's like it's scary because you can't do anything about this bad guy. All you have to do is try and get through and survive and not get caught.
And I
And I
think that's
think
what makes a good like horror game in general. Like the feel going back to what I originally said, the feeling of
yeah,
helplessness and
yeah,
like being out of control because you can't
yeah,
fight back. So
right,
all you can do is run away, and sometimes that's not the easiest thing to do.
right,
Okay,
yeah,
so I googled best horror movies of all time. There's a list
okay,
that came out about a week ago.
okay, perfect.
Do you guys want to try
Topical.
to guess the top five?
Exorcist is probably up there.
Sure. Like
Um,
how does the range go from like more recent or just like in
this
general?
is all time. But okay, let me ask you this: do you think recent ones are towards the top of the list, or do you think all the really good horror movies are older?
I feel like
I
a
think
lot
it's a
of the
mix.
yeah, I agree with you. I feel like a majority of the ones that are going to be on the top side are just going to be recent because they're recent.
Recency bias, you think?
Yeah, recency bias going on.
Mm. I don't know.
The,
I'm guessing that Exorcist is top five.
I would put probably like it in there.
That's a
It
good
is
one.
not in the top five. Exorcist is number two.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would put
Also, I've
Chainsaw.
scrolled all the way to 25. Nothing from the 2000s.
Really? It's
From
all
t-
pre
from
2000?
2000 up. Yeah.
No way.
What
Is
did you?
Texas Chainsaw
Texas Chainsaw
Massacre?
Massacre is number one.
Oh, really? Yeah,
Hmm.
I feel like those are the most popular. Well, I guess that's what this list is. Wait, is this best or most popular?
It says best horror movies of all time
Oh, I would say
is
those are
what the
probably the
list
most
claims
popular.
to be as. So it goes
'Cause
Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which came out in 74, is number one. Then The
mm,
Exorcist, 73. Then
mm.
Psycho, 1960.
I don't know if we talked about this on here, but I have opinions about Psycho.
So this is the description. Hitchcock's greatest film is a landmark of cinematic horror that's almost hard to believe it was greeted in 1960. As an effective but decidedly low rent affair, a kind of sordid fun house. That's a weird sentence. Or I read it weird. I don't know. 64 years later, there's a reason every detail and motive of Psycho um, is nothing less than iconic. And I won't read the whole thing,
Mm.
but
I have either of you seen Psycho?
no.
I feel like I have, but I couldn't tell you what it's about. A psycho.
Wow, good job, Josh. I won't get too into it then if you ever want to see it. What I would say is that I definitely believe that for 64 or whenever that came
60.
out, 60, I definitely believe that that was probably one of the scariest movies out there. And I think that there is a lot of great stuff done and very much probably a trendsetter in the horror franchise. And Alfred Hitchcock is obviously a legend in that field. But for me, it was very much a product of its time and it did not hold up very well.
Sure.
It was kind of almost goofy to me watching it a couple years ago for the first time.
What was the one that we watched semi recently? Not recent, like it's probably like a couple months ago. I think it's Hannibal Lecter?
Oh, Silence of the
Oh,
Lambs.
yeah.
Silence of the Lambs. I feel like Silence of the Lambs also very much a product of its time.
Yeah.
It's a
I
very
haven't seen that
well-made
one yet.
movie, but I wouldn't say it's super. It's on either Netflix or Hulu or something right now. You should watch it because they put it on there for Halloween, so it's easy to
Okay,
watch. But
I'll watch it.
you should definitely watch it while it's available because
Yeah, that's one of those classics I haven't seen yet, but
it's very
yeah.
good.
But for a classic, it was one of those things that we came out of it and we were like, it's not scary, but I could see how it could be scary when it came
Right.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but you can see the thing that tells you that it is a great horror movie though is you can see all the things that have kind of been modeled after it or pulled
Oh
from it
yeah.
and referenced in
Right.
other things and you're like and I think that's part of the reason it's not scary to us is cuz we've seen how what it's done has evolved since then.
Yeah.
Um, and so none of it was super like out of left field or crazy. It was kind of predictable to me. I remember
Right.
that's what I said was like the reason that it wasn't scary to me is like it was kind of predictable. I didn't really know the story. I mean, everybody knows Hannibal Lecter as
Mhm.
a fictional character.
Mhm. Mhm.
Because some people don't know that. Um,
Mhm.
not gonna name anybody, but yeah,
Yeah.
David Bowie.
yeah, it's David Bowie. No,
Knew
it's a
it.
guy running for president. Um,
Mhm.
but totally, the David Bowie comment totally derailed me.
David Bowie second time?
You've
Oh,
seen
but yeah,
enough.
it was just like predictable and like I didn't know the story, but I knew of like the character. Um, so it's not like I had it spoiled for me or anything, but it just wasn't anything like new or exciting to me.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was just older, so it was also slower. Um,
Mhm. Pacing, I feel like, is another important quality of the horror genre. I mean, of any movie,
it's definitely
pacing is
something that
important.
has drastically changed from old horror to new horror. Cause
Very
Yeah.
like
much so.
a couple years ago we were watching Halloween because we had
Mhm.
watched Halloween Kills in theaters, which was really good. And then I was like, oh, let's watch Halloween. After about 30 minutes, we were both like, this is so slow. Because they just take forever. They try to build suspense with time. And like, yeah,
Mm.
they have the piano, which is great for building suspense,
After a while.
but when you have the piano playing for 2 minutes, you're like, okay.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
biggest things in there were just like, and I was always pointed out during the scenes that it just felt like it just kept dragging on nothing.
So we put it on
Yeah.
2 times speed. Good movie.
So like, there's a scene where it's literally what's her name? What, the main actress woman,
Jamie
blanking
Lee
on her.
Curtis.
Jamie Lee
Jamie Lee
Curtis.
Curtis. Yeah, yeah. Love her. But there's like her and her friend, they're just walking down the street and they're walking and they're walking
Yeah.
and they're walking and we're just like, oh, the scene is going on for a little too long.
Yeah. And I
And they're
like I think
walking.
Oh,
I
and
think that's a tough balance too. Is like because I think sometimes some movies, especially nowadays, because we've gone the other direction, and some scenes are just so quick, and things just boom, 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 and you're happening, you're jumping every 10 seconds, and I don't think that that's particularly good either. But I think finding that balance of how long do we make this scene, especially in a horror movie where like yeah, lingering on something and building suspense is important, but like if you're sitting around for too long, then you just get bored.
Yeah, but I also feel like that's a product of like as time gone on, I feel like a lot of society has gotten a lot more impatient with things.
yeah.
I
I
think so too. And oh, I'm sorry, you go.
I was just gonna say I wanted to finish up the top five because I never got to the last two. But if you wanted to say
Okay,
something on that point, go ahead.
I forgot what I was gonna say already.
Okay. Anyway,
Oh, I was gonna say that I would be curious to talk to somebody who saw Halloween when it came out, and if they at that time also felt like some scenes were too long, or if the human attention span. I mean, the human attention span has gotten shorter. Like I think that that's like kind of
scientifically proven.
pseudo factual at the very least, but probably backed by some scientific journals that I don't know about, so don't quote me on it. But I forgot what I was gonna say.
Talking about
Go.
attention span and how we've lowered our attention
Oh yeah,
span.
yeah, yeah. But I am curious. I would be curious to know if people at that time also thought like, "Oh man, this scene kind of
You
is going
should
on for too long."
ask Auntie if she saw the original growing up.
Oh yeah, this would be a good one to
It
have had Auntie on.
it came out in '78, so she would have been teen-ish. So I
Sure,
don't know if Grandma would have let her watch it, but she would have watched it maybe in her early 20s, I would think,
I
at
would imagine.
least.
Yeah,
So I think she'd be able to answer that question. Auntie, answer in the comments down below, or we'll
yeah.
text
What
you.
did Halloween drag on when you first saw it, or do we have short attention spans?
Uh, or is it
It could be
both?
both.
It probably is both, but
He's
like to what effect? I guess.
so for the Variety.com list, which is the one I was reading, number 4 is Jaws,
Okay.
Sure, sure.
and
I
then
definitely think that that is another one that kind of broke the mold and was very unique for its time for sure.
yeah, and that one came out in '75, and
Mm.
then number 5 is Rosemary's Baby.
Never seen it.
I
But
No
that's
more
another like
Wirehangers.
spooky, like gave birth to a demon sort of story, right?
The idea that the devil was at large in the world didn't seem like a far-fetched notion. Uh, Rooted in fearful vision of pregnancy that's sympathetic to the very women it could give a nightmare to. But it's
Yeah, it's demon. Oh,
uh,
baby's gone.
it will summon Satan to make Rosemary pregnant, and he'll get the
Mm.
career that he wants.
Oh, sounds
So the husband summons Satan to impregnate his wife so that he can get a good job.
wow, sounds like a jerk. Sounds like a terrible husband. Who makes that deal? Like who, I mean, obviously somebody did, but like who would trade their wife and child basically for a better job?
And then, so I checked one other list. The next list that seemed like a full list was on IGN.
Okay.
And for IGN, the number one. Are you just leaving? So on the IGN top 100 list, the first movie we have is The Shining.
Oh, The
I believe it.
Shining.
When did that one come out?
I feel like that
70s,
was
Oh, that
early
was
probably.
90s.
80,
Oh, it was
Huh?
80.
1980.
That's a pretty good one.
And then in number 2 we have The Exorcist.
Yeah.
Number 3 we have Psycho.
Hmm.
Number 4 we have Halloween.
Oh,
And number 5 we have The Bride of Frankenstein.
really? The
Never
Bride of
watched it.
Frankenstein makes the list?
So again, we don't really have anything from this century.
No.
When did
Which is interesting. Let's talk about that briefly. Do you, because we've seen some of these movies from the past, haven't we all? Do we think that horror movies nowadays are not as scary as those movies?
No, I think it's just a different type of scary and horror for the
How
most
so?
part. Um, I mean, I think before they really played up suspense and like,
Hmm.
um, the effects were not as good, so it was like
Hmm.
limited to whatever you could realistically make happen. And nowadays, a lot of horror movies I feel like are very CGI reliant.
Yeah.
Like I think probably one of the reasons Alien was so cool is, um, first of all, it was a sci-fi horror, which was really cool,
Yeah.
but um, I don't think it relies heavily on effects, but those props were really cool, like the little alien busting out and everything.
Yeah.
Like
There's a lot of
the
practical effects.
because the CGI wasn't like, big back in the 70s when Alien came out, so I think that's why it was so cool. It was like, oh my god. But like you think of like Silence of the Lambs, um, I don't know. I haven't seen The Exorcist or The Shining or Psycho, but I don't know if those really rely on effects or anything, or if it's all very minimalistic. And I think that's like a big change. Like, there's a lot of horror movies that are like overly gory or overly a lot of stuff because I feel like they're just like more. More
Yeah.
is more. Whereas
Well,
I
that's
feel
the
like
whole,
they used to be very minimal.
yeah. I mean, that's the whole crux of the Terrifier movies, right? Like, how much gore can you put in a movie?
I feel like that was also something like in older movies, they played a big part of like making it so you don't know who the monster or enemy or whatever it is for the long part of the movie until you get to the very end. So big part of it leaves it to your imagination to be like, oh, what can it be? What is
Mm.
this thing that goes bump in the night and whatever?
Mm.
Like what movie?
I guess like e- even like Halloween's Michael Myers, like you don't really see him until like near near like the second half of the movie.
Doesn't he pop up
Mm.
a lot like in the background though?
He does, but you still don't quite understand who this person
You,
is.
you don't know who
Right.
he is, but you know that he's probably the bad guy.
Sure, but you don't know what he's capable of.
Sure.
Hmm.
I mean,
So, but
I think even after the first movie, you don't know what he's capable of because by Halloween Kills, he seems pretty indestructible and unkillable, which I don't think is anything that anybody imagined after seeing the first movie.
No, but that's the thing. Like first movie, you don't know much about him.
Do you think they give too much away too early nowadays?
Absolutely. I feel like nowadays is like okay, we see the horror in the first 5 minutes of the movie, and then we'll leave it at that. We'll
mm,
do some story plot things, and then come in 30 minutes later for the kills again.
I don't think that's true though. Like I don't think Smile or Barbarian or even Tarot did that. Like we didn't see anything for probably a good 30 minutes about what the actual um you know, villain or antagonist of the story was. Like it was alluded or like we would see glimpses of the effect, but I don't think we
mhm,
ever saw
mhm.
like the actual thing for so long. Like especially in
I
Barbarian, that
agree.
was saved till the very, very end.
Like, yes, I agree.
Um,
There is even a whole plot twist that they make you think the movie is one thing in the first part of the movie, and then it becomes something else later on. So then you're really like, oh, I really have no idea what's going on here.
Yeah, but these are like I would say these are like better movies, but a lot of horror movies tend to follow the lines like, oh, we gotta hook them in. We gotta show them what we're gonna be fighting and everything.
Well, but I
Hmm.
think, well, yeah, but I think those are also like B and lower tier horror movies, and that's what they go for. They're just going for all of it. But I think if you want to compare more apples to apples instead of apples to oranges, you have to pick the better movies that have come out recently, which I think
Yeah,
Smile, Barbarian, those are the type of ones,
I would agree.
and compare it to, your classics like Halloween, The Exorcist, if you really want to say, well, what are the differences? And I think, they still the really good ones still keep their cards close to their chest as long as possible.
Yeah,
Yeah, I would agree with that.
I would agree with that also. And I think that's a good comparison because I was going to bring up Smile and Barbarian as well. So I'm glad we're on the same page.
Are we gonna see
Um,
Smile too?
I would like to.
Okay,
I'm
when you
down.
when you coming from movies?
I don't know. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Movies.
No, I was just playing with his
Um,
hands and they ended up like this, and I was like, that'd be funny. Movies.
I was gonna say something. I don't remember what it was.
Damn.
But oh, would you say though, like, what would you say is a scarier movie? Like Smile or like pick an older one? Halloween, Smile or Halloween? I know one's slasher
Smile.
and one's more
Smile.
paranormal. Right, and so that I would say the same thing too. But then so that makes me think, why do all these lists have the older horror movies as being the better horror movies? Is it
Well,
simply because of nostalgia and because they were trendsetters and so they get the accolades?
yeah, I would say it's because they were like the pioneers of a lot of horror movies today.
But does that make them better? And if we're because what we're talking about here is the a better horror movie. And so I would argue if it's not as scary, then it's not as good of a horror movie. That doesn't take away what it was or what it has done for the industry. But if you're making a list of the best horror movies, I would imagine you would put movies that are scarier on that list and not just movies that have been around a while and people really like.
No, that's fair. I feel like it's, with anything like this, it's all subjective as hell.
Yeah.
And that's what's makes it difficult to like qualify like, oh, what makes the like a better horror movie, or whatever, are the originals who started off like the slasher films, or like the jump scares and whatever in movies, like or were they just because they were the originals, do they actually are better? A lot
Right.
of people say yes, because they're referenced more in a lot of pop culture, as opposed to these newer ones, they're not referenced as much.
Right, but I think that's just a product of them having been around for a long time, and again, from them having been the ones that kind of broke the mold and like started this whole genre.
Okay, so I'm going to take your dead thought, and I do want to say it because I keep looking at the list.
Frankenstein it?
Um, I think the number one thing that stands out to me, comparing the IGN list to the variety list,
Mm-hmm.
is that the number one of Texas Chainsaw Massacre on Variety's list dropped all the way to number 12 on IGN's list.
I was actually gonna when you were reading the list, I made a mental note of like,
And
oh, Texas Chainsaw isn't even at the
and
top five of this
Rosemary's
one.
Baby went from 5 to 11 on this list.
Mm,
So, but ahead of Chainsaw Massacre. So I
right.
found that interesting. But Psycho and The Exorcist, 2 and 3 on both lists.
Yeah, I was gonna point that out too. That is consistent.
And then I did look up. So Rolling Stone made a best horror movies of the 21st century.
Oh, okay.
Um, do you want to take any guesses as to what the top five there might be?
I mean, is Smile on it?
It
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 is
is a
not in
good
the
one.
top five. Neither
Okay.
neither is it.
Ooh. I don't know,
Where does
honestly.
Smile rank? Smile's not on
Um,
this list. When did it come out?
a couple of years ago.
No, I mean this list.
Oh. What I will
2020.
say
So this is
oh, so
2000
it's
to
pre-Smile.
2020.
It's pre-Smile. What I will say though is Auntie has said many times that The Exorcist is a movie that she will not watch. So I think that
it's
also
just
gives it.
permanently scarred.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So I think that that does give credence to that movie as well. And
Did
I
she
feel like
watch it at some point or?
Yeah, I
she
think she
just
watched it like younger, like when she was
okay.
younger. But I just know she said many times, like especially around Halloween, whenever we would like talk about like, oh, what movies are we gonna watch? She's always been like, I will not watch Exorcist. But her favorite movie is Aliens too. So it's not like she's like not a horror fan. She just like Exorcist is just like, and she's seen like the Conjuring movies and stuff like that. It's just The Exorcist for whatever reason hits different. So perhaps we should have an Exorcist movie night and see if it do in fact hit different.
If Auntie won't watch it, I don't know if I want to watch it.
I want to watch it.
Mm.
I'll watch it.
You want to watch it with me?
Is
Mm.
the movie fuck, what's it called? It Follows on there?
Hmm.
Because I would say that that is probably one of the more better horror movies of like
I
more
act-
recent times.
you know what? I actually can't search it because this is paginated so that you can only see like 10 things, so I cannot even control F to like
Uh,
That's
wait,
annoying.
you said it follows? Oh, it's number 19.
Hmm.
oh, nice.
Um
You know what a funny anecdote about that movie is? I haven't seen it, but I remember going to the movies with Daisy and a couple of our friends one time and like seeing the trailer and saying, and apparently, so I don't actually remember this happening. I preface this poorly because I don't actually remember this happening, but this is what I was told happened. We
okay.
went to the movies, we saw a trailer for It Follows, and I said, "Oh, that looks like a good movie." And then for circumstances unbeknownst to me that I can remember, Daisy and the other two went to go see that movie because I had said it looks like a good movie, and they didn't like the movie and said it was really bad. And then they got mad at me because they're like, "You said it would be a good movie," and I'm like, "I have no memory of this whatsoever." And I didn't even go see the movie. But I have also heard people say that it is a good movie, so I don't know. I haven't seen it. I wasn't there.
Interesting.
But apparently a version of me thought it would be good.
Okay, so on this list from Rolling Stone, the number 1 is Get Out.
Oh, Get Out was great.
Yeah.
But oh, this was another topic I wanted to talk about that I don't know if we have time for, but the difference between horror and thriller. Because I feel like a lot of horror movies end up in a thriller category. And they
Yeah.
don't peek over into horror even though they're classified as horror. And I might put Get Out in that category too. But Get Out is a fantastic movie. I'm not knocking Get Out. I love Get Out.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this on our last horror podcast, so I don't
Mhm.
think I want to get
We don't need
into
to dive
that
too deep into
discussion
it.
too much. But
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely think it's a thriller, but it's also horrifying. So like,
Agreed. Yeah.
so yeah.
And again,
Um,
fantastic movie. 10 out of 10.
Number
No
2 on
notes.
this list is 28 Days Later. I've never heard of it.
I think
The
I've heard
Boulder
of it,
one?
but I haven't seen it.
Huh?
The Boulder one?
I don't know. It came out in 2002.
Oh, possibly the Boulder one.
28 days later.
Um, Number 3 is
Is that?
Hereditary.
Oh, that's a zombie. Oh, Hereditary was good too.
Which movie is that?
Uh,
Uh, the cult movie.
yeah.
Did
It's
I
like
see
about
it?
a cult.
I don't know if you
I
have,
don't
but
know
it's
if
the
you
one with
saw
the
it.
girl that just constantly clicking her tongue.
Yeah, she's like, I
Oh, I
think
haven't
she's
seen
like
it.
on the spectrum, and then, yeah, and then it's about a cult.
Number 4 is Let the Right One In.
Never
I
heard of
don't
it.
know that one.
And then the picture for it is just a man on fire. Uh,
Oh, oh, I
there.
see it. 2008.
And then number
Um,
5 is The Babadook.
the
The gay
Babadook.
icon.
I really liked the Babadook up until the end. I feel like the end didn't do it justice, but I feel like the first like 80-90% of the movie was pretty good. And it was pretty creepy, honestly. I liked most of the movie. I think 28 Days Later is a zombie movie. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
Hmm.
Which would
I
be the
believe it.
first zombie movie on this list. That's pretty cool on any of these lists.
So according to IMDb, best horror movies from the 21st century, number 1 on
One.
IMDb is The Conjuring.
I like The Conjuring. As I've said, that's one of my faves.
Number 2 is Saw,
Okay.
Mm.
which is the
Gore.
first time we've
More
heard that
gore.
one.
Yeah.
3 is The Others.
Don't know that one.
No. It's a movie set after the end of World War II.
Oh, fun.
That could be interesting.
Number 4 is a movie called REC for or rec for recording.
Oh, that's a good one.
It's a television reporter and cameraman follow emergency workers into a dark apartment building and are quickly locked inside with something terrifying.
Ooh.
It's a good movie.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 5 is Veronica. That came out in
Veronica.
2017.
That sounds familiar.
Set in Madrid, 1991, a teen girl finds herself besieged by an evil supernatural force after she plays Ouija with 2 classmates.
Oh, so it's like a
Always the Ouija board.
exorcist type of movie. Did I see this movie?
Would you guys?
And then
I know the
6 is
answer to
It.
Spanish.
this.
So
I
It
think I
finally
might have
showed up
seen this
close
movie.
to the top 5.
Finally, I know the answer to this, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Would you guys ever play with a Ouija board?
No,
Okay, but why?
Because
you
I don't
don't
want to
tempt
invite
the
demons.
fates.
Look, I want to see a ghost or like see evidence of a ghost. I don't want to mess with demons.
Look,
I don't want to
Ryan is
get.
not allowed near cursed objects for one.
Neither is Ian because he's gonna play with it and that's gonna somehow screw me over.
No, that's what Josh does.
You
I
both have done it.
I have never killed Ryan.
Oh, yeah, never.
You know what he did do? He did bring me back that one time to life. So
I
I
did, yeah,
Did
Josh
which
he
is
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 more
the
right.
than what
monkey's
you
father
have.
bring you back. And then didn't
Yeah,
he
he did.
immediately get murdered?
No, I
Well, he
survived.
traded his life for mine. That's how it works.
Yeah, that was one of them.
And then I immediately died again, I think. So I feel like it was all for
That
naught.
definitely happened once.
Well, I came back to life in a dark room on the other side of the house with no equipment, and the ghost was hunting. I don't know what I was supposed to do, but I appreciate the effort anyway. But to answer your question, no, I wouldn't mess with that.
I'd be
Now,
like, good luck. You do it anywhere near my house, I'm leaving.
I would
No.
see
You.
someone do it. Like Josh, if you wanted to do it, I would stand there and watch it, but I'm not putting my
No,
hand on the
I don't want to
planchette.
be anywhere near it. You can turn on a video camera and I will Skype you from an hour away. Like, do it
You
at your
Skype me.
parents' house. Do not do it at my house. And I'll see you on Zoom.
He upgraded from
so now would you say you're scared of the Ouija board?
No.
Are you scared of what possibly can come out of it?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
just don't want to tempt
What
fate
about
like
it?
that. You guys know how my luck works. I would 100% summon some sort of demon.
We don't need to tempt anything.
Yeah.
I can't fight back against that. I don't have witch powers.
I would watch you.
No, you would.
What?
I said would you, and then I was like, no, you would. I was like, I don't even
Oh.
need to ask that question.
Yeah, Josh would.
It's
I mean,
'cause
even in
I'm not a
Phasmophobia, Josh
believer.
was the first time we found a Ouija board. Josh immediately played with it, broke it, and then a demon spawned. That's 100% the string of events that occurred. And I feel like it would be no different in real life.
You think you'd break it?
Yeah, and the demon would spawn and come straight for me, and I don't know why that would be, but that's what would happen. So I would rather not tempt fate with that one because I feel like I know how that's gonna end. Adam has used a Ouija board before, and he said it wasn't like a scary experience in the way you would expect it to, but it was a unnerving experience, and he won't touch one again.
But he's still alive.
He is still alive, yeah.
What happened in his experience?
So basically, his dad had passed away, I think when he was young. I don't know exactly the age, but he used this Ouija board like many, 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 many years later. And I forgot what question he asked, but it's something to do with his dad and like what was his dad's name. And like it spelled out his dad's name. And it's like this weird like Hungarian name or something that has a strange spelling and it spelled it like perfectly. And he was just like he's like it freaked me out.
I think
He's like because nobody would know how like what that name is, let alone how to spell it. Even if you heard it, you wouldn't know how to spell it.
interesting. I
That's
think the
fair.
craziest thing is that you can just buy these things on the internet.
You can buy them in stores. I'm pretty sure you can go
Well,
to
yeah, you could
Target
just
and
go
get
to
a Ouija
Target.
board.
Hasbro sells them or whatever.
Yeah, Hasbro branded Ouija boards. Hasbro is just giving out curses to people left and right.
Did he
For
say what type of
profit.
Ouija board he used?
No, I didn't ask that.
Like, was
I
it
was
like a
like, that's
generic store one, or did he does he have a
No, it's definitely
family
an
passed
authentic
down
witch made.
ancient,
Yeah,
Hungarian Ouija board?
yeah, ancient Hungarian Ouija board. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the specifics of the craftsmanship of this board. I think he did that like when he was in college or
Does he
something, or
still
like
have this board?
it was not his board. I know that
Oh,
for
okay.
sure. I think it was like a friend's board or something. And none of his friends knew his dad's last name. Like it was like one of those situations. I don't remember. I'm missing
Oh,
details on
cause
this
so
because
like they're all holding it, and it just goes to all the letters, and he's just like, "Who's doing that?" And none of them would know how to spell that, so it's like nobody's doing that.
yeah,
Cause
exactly.
that's
That's what
my
freaked him
one
out.
thing with Ouija is it's like, okay, somebody could definitely just be pulling, but you don't
Yeah.
know, like, and some mystical force is just moving the planchette around, like, nuh-uh, no
Yeah.
thank you.
Well, here's my thing about it, right? To your aforementioned point, these are widely sold, widely available objects.
Would do,
I
do you-
don't think that there are spirits that are just like hanging around all the time, being like, "Oh yeah, well, you're using a Ouija board." They're like on call, right? Spirits are like on call, and they're like, "Oh, somebody's using a Ouija board. All right, Greg, you're up." And then Greg's got to go. Oh, moving the thing.
Greg's
Like
like,
I
no,
just
I'm on my 15 cent.
they're like, "Oh man, I just had to do it," and they're like, "Sorry, Greg, you lost a bet. You get the next 3 in a row." And now Greg's got to go up again and like do some weird stuff and make the people scared. And it's just like,
Well,
ooh.
do you
And
remember in high school, Caitlin, uh, she played with they used a Ouija board outside one of their houses or
I think they
something.
did, yeah. And they did it outside specifically, so it wasn't inside. I remember
Yeah,
that.
but she said she was freaked out after it. Like I don't remember the
Yeah.
specifics because that was so long ago, but I mean, she wasn't one to be spooked easily, and she
Mm-mm.
was like
She was
terrified
co-captain of the
after
White
that
Sox
experience.
Adventure Squad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I remember that now that you say it. So I guess the
I
two
remember
people I
that after you told me that it happened.
well, because now I remember that conversation. But yeah, so I guess that's 2 for 2 on people that I know that have used one and have not walked away happy, I suppose.
Ouija
So,
boards do not have happy customers.
but that's the point. So technically, you are happy.
No.
If you get out of it what you set out to get, then you are a satisfied customer, right,
Mm-mm.
Josh?
Yeah, totally. I think it's just a bunch of hootenanny, you know.
Then go
Okay,
get
then
one
you
and let's
do
do
it.
it. Yeah,
I will.
let's do
No,
it.
not let's. Like I
Yeah,
said,
no, we're all
do that at
doing
your
it.
parents' house.
We'll do it for the Halloween podcast.
No, where we film our podcast is haunted. Like there will be a
Yeah, we
spirit that
talked about that.
responds. I'm pretty sure.
But
Like
then we would all know. But then we would all
no,
know.
we don't
You
need
don't
to
live here.
find out who
You
the
don't live
green
here
lady
anymore.
is.
What
Don't
if
you want to
for
know
whatever,
though?
what if for whatever reason, like, it's not gonna happen? I'm just saying. What if we were like all on a Ouija board or whatever, and we're all holding the little dial that moves around
Planchette.
to spell out things,
Yeah.
and we just start moving around, and I'm not pushing it in this scenario,
I definitely think
but
Josh is pushing it when
but
it
I
starts
feel like
no,
if you
moving.
have
no,
to
no, shush,
qualify
shush,
that.
no, shush. I'm just saying, I'm not pushing it, but for whatever reason, it starts spelling out the word or the name Kevin. I'd be like, oh, these fuckers are never gonna believe that I'm not doing this.
Oh,
What is your
100%.
name? Kevin.
I'll be like, Josh, stop.
And meanwhile, I'm gonna be the only one who knows. I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, you're so correct.
It
We
might
would
be
not
better that
believe
way.
you. But then you would have a secret.
Yeah, a secret that I've told everyone that no one believes.
Well, if
Like,
you name
swear to
everything you own Kevin, and then magically the freaking Ouija board's name is
yeah,
Kevin too.
yeah,
The
that's what I
Ouija
said.
board's
It's
name,
a
not the
really,
ghost.
it's a really freaky coincidence.
The board is like my name, Kevin.
Yeah, my name is Kevin.
Every
Let's
time
see.
you ask the ghost on that board what its name is, it's Kevin.
What if that's true? What if every board is sold with a ghost attached?
You
It's a
think
combo
Hasbro is
deal.
mass producing Ouija boards
Yeah,
with
I
ghosts
think
trapped
that
in them?
Hasbro. I'm putting this out there, Hasbro. I think I think that you have secret wizards and warlocks and witches that go around stealing spirits to the Ouija boards so that you can sell them and then get the word around because people buy them and they're like, oh, it's real, it's a thing. And then people get interested. It's all to get interest. I wouldn't put it past the
Hasbro's
company
just
to do
secretly
that.
buying all these cursed objects and then transferring the souls to their
Yeah,
Ouija boards.
that's true. There are probably some witches who can do so spirit transferences. You're right, Ian. That's a really
Hasbro,
good
we
addition.
figured you out. What you
We
gonna
figured
do?
you out, Hasbro.
If we
If
put
we're
out this
lying,
podcast, we get a cease and desist. Like,
I
That would be
hey, but that would
so.
be
That'd be so cool.
evidence though. If Hasbro cease and desists us and tries to sue us, that
Just
means
do
we're
it too.
right. Yeah, that means we're right. We're on to something, boys. I
If
feel it.
if we get a cease and desist or whatever letter,
Cease and
No, you're right.
desist.
You're right.
cease and desist letter, I want us to frame it.
Oh yeah, no, that's going up on
If
the
we,
wall.
yeah.
That means
If
we
we
made
ever
it.
get that,
We made
yeah,
it. If
honestly,
Hasbro listens to this, we made it. I don't care what anybody else. It could be we could have 2 viewers and one of them's Hasbro. We could retire
yeah,
happy.
we're set. We're set.
It's like
Framing
Lou
that
from
stuff up.
accounting just told legal he's like they're on to us.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, we are Hasbro. Better give us some really cool toys if you want us to keep silent.
we can be bought.
Yeah, we're not above it.
In this economy, shucks.
Yeah. I feel like I think we really got him, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah, totally.
Hasbro, we see you.
We're watching. Always watching, Wazowski. Always watching. All right, well, that was a fun conversation, boys. Is there anything else we would like to say about this before we wrap her up?
Phasmophobia is terrifying and has taught us that we would not survive around cursed objects.
Phasmophobia is a great game, and yeah, we're not very good at it.
We're pretty good at it.
We got pretty good at
We're
it.
not good
Yeah,
at
we did.
surviving, but when we do, we're good at identifying that ghost.
No, me and Ryan are not good at surviving. You're always in the bus for some reason.
Oh, I think I know what the reason is. I don't know. I don't think it's unclear what the
I'm
reason
not
is why
always
Ian
in the
stays on the
bus.
bus. He comes in, he drops cameras down, and then
Okay, first
hides
of
on
all,
the
first
bus.
of all, first of all, part of the reason to go in the bus is because Josh, for a while, just started walking in and going, "Where are you, bitch?" Like taunting the ghost.
Also
Like,
true.
and I'm just like, you know what? I don't need that negative energy. Like, if we go into a real haunted house and he starts doing that, I don't know if I want to be in there.
You just gotta
Because
be a big brave boy, Ian.
we
Come
don't
on,
need to
brave it like me
taunt
do.
the supernatural, okay?
I agree with that,
We
but
do
also
if we need a photo.
that's true. Also, I don't agree with Josh's methods either, but I still have to brave the unknown.
Guy acting like I'm the problem here.
You often die first. I feel like you are, in fact, the problem here sometimes. Sometimes it's
No,
me. I'll admit it. But I'm
sometimes
also
I can
not
just
going
be in the
around
room and
screaming
all of
at
a
the
sudden
ghost.
look around and it's like, oh, hi ghost, and then boom, out.
Yeah, no,
So,
that
guys, we
happens to me
playing
too.
Phasmo after this?
Yeah,
No.
let's do it. Oh, okay, Josh said no. But we should play it again soon. I have been wanting to play it again.
Sure.
We talked about it the other day,
Sure.
and then we didn't do it.
Well, we played Chain together.
We gotta do that too. We gotta finish that. We're like halfway. But yeah, all right. Well, I think this was a fun one. I hope you all had fun too. Both you all being you two, as well as you all being those out there who may or may not be listening.
Or spirits.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah, any spirits listening, please comment below. Thank you all
Please like and
for
subscribe.
another episode of the podcast, and I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your week, and we will see you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye.
Your
Your
pumpkin is
face
not
isn't.
centered.
God.
Do it again. Bye.
Bye.